Due to the poor audio quality in the first 6 minutes of this video, I will do voiceover narration. Because of this, the video and the audio may seem to be out of sync. I'm sorry if it causes any confusion. This bike is my new 2017 300 XCW 6 Days and is the subject of this set of videos. I'm running a set of Warp 9 wheels, a Recluse auto clutch, a Recluse left-hand rear braking, a Scott's dampener, a Kreft power valve adjuster, plus a soon-to-be installed SmartCarb 38mm cast. It also has a set of Pro Bend handguard protectors and a KTM hard parts shark fin for the rear. And it's soon to be outfitted with Kreft Moto fork and shock revisions. This is the SmartCarb shipping box and the manual, which is ordinarily packed kind of bent a little bit. It's a fairly complete manual and has some good information in the back pages. On the back page itself, we have some important information about the way the carb is set up. Here we have the serial number of the carburetor, the metering rod that is installed in the carburetor, the factory clicker setting at 86 clicks, the slide and rod length, which is measured from the top of the slide to the bottom of the rod, and the idle set screw setting, which we'll go into later. For now, this idle set screw setting is intended to deliver a slide height of approximately 1.27 millimeters. When we open the book, in the back we have a set of pages for note taking. And we also have a page for recording your clicker settings and your float height. This is where I also record the performance results of making clicker changes. Also in the box are a couple of decals from Technology Elevated. And here's the carburetor, well packed in the box. We'll pull it out and put the box away in just a moment. It's a good idea to save the box in order to ship the carburetor back for service if you ever need to. It's a good package. So here we are looking at the SmartCarb intended to be installed on the 2017 model 250 and 300 XCW engines. The changes are a little bit of milling off of the rear exit of the carburetor and a similar amount of milling off of the front, as you can see here, and a little bit of milling off of the edge of the float ball so you can get a better grip with the air boot. On the exit, we can see a little bit of the pear shape of the venturi. It's part of what gives the SmartCarb its superior atomization and airflow. In the front, we can see the air scoop. This air scoop provides air at the same pressure as the venturi into the float bowl, which pressurizes the float bowl. That pressurization forces a little bit of fuel up the nozzle, and at high throttle openings can actually begin to inject fuel into the carburetor. This pressurization between the float bowl and the venturi is the basic mechanism allowing for altitude compensation in the SmartCarb.
Okay, so there's a few things that you want to check out when you're unboxing just to be sure that they're all working the way they're supposed to. We'll start off with the needle and seat, so we'll take this little cover off of the fuel inlet, and you should be able to blow into it and air pass through it, and then we're going to turn the carb upside down and try to blow into it, and the air should not pass through it. So air is passing through it properly in that direction. Upside down, I can't blow any air through, so the needle and seat is working correctly. Then we have the air scoop, which we want to be able to blow into and have air go into the float bowl. And it's got tip-over check valves inside, so that if the carburetor turns over, fuel should not be able to run out of the float bowl. So we will try first blowing into this. We should be able to blow into it. We'll turn it upside down and then try to suck through it as if fuel is trying to get out. And we should not be able to suck. So let's give it a try here. Okay, so we can blow through it okay. Now we're going to try sucking. And we can't suck, so those tip-over valves are working correctly. Then we have the choke. I'm going to take this off right now. Basically, they want you to leave the choke up when you do your first fueling. I know about that, so I'm going to take this off for now. But basically, you want to keep that reminder in place until the carb is in place and on, ready to use a startup. So what I'm going to do is blow through this port right here, which is the air intake into the choke circuit. I should be able to blow into it with the choke up, and when I close the choke, it shouldn't be able to blow. So, blowing in, and now it won't. So the choke is working properly. In terms of checking the setup, as we looked at our book, we know that this particular idle screw setting, this is the idle screw here, is supposed to result in a slide height of somewhere around 1.27 millimeters. I've got a wire here that is 1.2 millimeters, so that wire should just slide under the slide here. And as I slide it in, it just barely slides under the slide. So we know that that slide height is about where it ought to be. When I set this up, and I've had this out already to show you, you'll notice there's a little dot right here. That's because when you need to measure the idle screw setting, and I use a caliper to do that, it can be a little hard to get everything lined up properly. So I found a spot that I could put the probe of the dial caliper on, and as I bring it down and touch the top of the slide of the screw, I should end up with a number which is, and I didn't do that quite right, should end up to a number which is very close to what's shown in the book. That's 946, and the book says 946. So basically, as long as I put the probe on that little black dot spot and come down and just catch the edge of the idle screw, I should be able to replicate that setting that is provided by the factory. That in turn tells you that you're going to be right on the money in terms of this slide height setting. So that's two different ways of measuring the same thing. And in addition, we have this what looks like a vent line, but what it is a drain line for the float bowl, because this float bowl is not vented. There's no venting to it. That's the whole point of this air scoop, is that it's a closed system, so it's blowing air in and pressurizing this. But there are going to be times when you may want to drain the float bowl. An example might be if you were to go underwater with your bike and kill it, you might want to be concerned that if there's any water in here. So it's easy to drain it by simply unscrewing this screw away. You don't have to take it all the way out. That'll let whatever's in the float bowl drain out through this line here. So basically just screw this out, let the contents of the float bowl flow out, screw it back in, and you're done. It's pretty easy to do. So that's pretty much all there is to unboxing. Our next video is going to concentrate on how the SmartCarb works. So we'll take it apart a bit and kind of show you the details of how it works.